Peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What is good? To those who follow me on Instagram, on my Brooknom's World page, which is primarily my Bible study that I share with the world, you might be looking at the screen right now and checking your eyes thinking, wait a minute, that logo is different. You're not losing your mind. This video is from my Thinking podcast. I have two YouTube channels actually. I have my Brooknom's World YouTube channel and my Thinking YouTube channel. My Thinking YouTube channel is more cultural, political. I've talked about cryptocurrency, just random topics, different topics that I want to discuss. I've posted some videos the last couple days that it appears that people on my Instagram page really enjoy and like videos discussing current events, the things going on as of late, mainly what's going on in Kabul, our withdrawal from Afghanistan, coronavirus, lockdowns, all of that kind of stuff I'm going over. I've tried to stay away from the more conspiracy theory-esque items. And the only reason I've tried to stay away from that, not all conspiracy theories are crazy. Some of this stuff could very well be true. I don't know. I am not the arbiter of truth. But sometimes it's hard to get people to wrap their brain around the issues you have when you cloak those issues around hard-hitting conspiracy theories. And not all, as I said, hard-hitting conspiracy theories are false. A lot of times throughout history, these things are proven to be true, things that people thought was just hearsay. But if you're trying to convey a thought to, let's say, the regular uninitiated, people that don't pay attention, people that don't really care about history, news, politics, that stuff's probably not going to matter to them, and you're probably not going to really win people over with that. So I've tried to condense my thoughts to things just more based around rationale and reason. So I've been thinking to myself over the past week, this thought has went through my brain multiple times. How exactly were regular people convinced that it was okay, proper, and even necessary to exterminate another group of people, i.e. World War II, Germany, and the Holocaust? How were normal people convinced that the ideas that Hitler and the Third Reich espoused were the ideas that were best for the country, that were best for anybody, and that were right? How were these people convinced to do these things? How were police officers convinced to round up Jewish people, collect all their items, and put them on trains and send them off to concentration camps? How were normal people convinced to report on their neighbors? I remember a couple months ago, an actress that was on Disney Plus show, The Mandalorian, she made a comment, and I understood her comment. She Gina Carano is her name, and I'm pretty sure most of you who listen to me are probably already familiar with the controversy. But what she said in her, I think it was a Twitter post, either Twitter or Instagram post, I can't remember. She pretty much said, I don't want to try to misquote it because I was trying to get exactly what she said, but the premise was, it wasn't really the authorities who persecuted the Jewish people during the Holocaust. It was their neighbors. I understood exactly what she was saying. Before anything could get crazy, before anything could go nuts. First, their neighbors had to be convinced that there was something wrong with them and that they needed to be eliminated. That's madness. Can you imagine? Can you imagine an entire group of people within your country just overnight becoming the enemy and being exterminated brutally? That's people who were otherwise peaceful, really not doing you any harm, and now they're blamed for everything, and now they're the enemy that needs to be exterminated. How does that happen? How are police officers during that time again convinced to carry out these things against people that they probably knew probably 10 years before? They grew up with some of these people, probably went to school with some of these people, and now they're sending them off to concentration camps. How does that happen? This is what I think. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but this is really what I think. Who knows where all of this stuff that's been going on the last 2 years, who knows where it heads? But the one thing I think is if we go down this dark road of totalitarianism, I don't think we are. I hope we're not, but I'm not a psychic. I don't know. I don't know if we will get out of this thing unscathed. I don't know. I'm just being honest with you, but I'm also not, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I'm not going to do that either, but I have to be honest with what's going on. But if police officers are willing to carry out unconstitutional, air quote, mandates and unconstitutional edicts by governors and mayors, city authorities, what have you, if police are willing to do that, if we go down this dark path of totalitarianism and authoritarianism that always leads to mass death, and if that does happen in the future, history will not be kind to the police officers who participated and stood idly by while they violated their oath to the Constitution. I don't know how else to put that. That's my criticism to police officers. I think we have a problem within the country. I remember the Back the Blue thing was going on. I don't necessarily have a problem with people that hold to the whole Back the Blue stance. I get it. But the problem I had with the mentality amongst some of these people is this blind allegiance to police officers. The very police officers who are closing people's businesses down, the very police officers who are pulling people out of businesses because they don't have a mask on. Look, this is not, I'm trying not to make this an us against them argument because that happens too much and that's a problem. But the bottom line is there's one group of people that don't really care to wear masks. There's another group of people that are very adamant about wearing a mask and they're at odds. But here's what I found. And this is not always true. I don't want to make this a blanket statement. I've found that people who really don't care for wearing masks, generally speaking, don't have a problem with people who decide they want to wear a mask. They just, live and let live. If that's what you want to do, do your thing. That's what I found. I'm not saying that's true in every instant. Also, what I found, again, not true in every instant, but I'm going to say this is the majority. The majority of people I found that are adamant about the mask, they are very, I'm going to use this term, and I know it's overused, but I don't know what else to compare it to. They're very Nazi-like in their adherence and their desire for other people to be forced to adhere to wearing a mask. It's crazy to see. It's actually very interesting to see. People who on other issues are all about personal liberty all of a sudden have turned into authoritarians, which makes me think it seems like most governments throughout history who have gone down the path of authoritarians have always used some degree of fear. Like they have that boogeyman that's out there that you have to fear, and that's how they get there. I wrote something down. This is something that was on my mind, and I am no great thinker, but these are just my thoughts, and this has been in my head, and I didn't just want to freestyle this, because if I tried to freestyle this thought, it wouldn't come out how I have it in my head, so I wrote it down. Liberty is beautiful, and it is at times scary. Freedom comes at the cost of unknown risk. The danger, disaster, devastation, and destruction of conceding freedom and liberty at the behest of safety is so great that there is no reason sound enough, no wisdom clear enough, that I will give my freedom or liberty freely to any government for any reason. That's the thought that's been going through my head for days, even weeks, probably months now. So again, thinking to myself, how did this happen? How did World War II Germany happen? How did normal people commit such egregious acts? My worldview is based on the Bible. So I understand we live in a fallen world. Within all of us is the potential to do evil things. I'm gonna play a video, but before I play a video, I'm gonna say something. There's a popular YouTuber, journalist. I consider him a journalist. Tim Pool. I watch his videos. Me mentioning his name I'm not telling you that because I think he's perfect in all of his views. I do like the fact that he seems to give a fair assessment of both sides of any argument, and he is willing to hear anything out, and I appreciate that. What he has said is that there are prominent people, celebrities, or what have you, that personally tell him in his DMs or text messages or whatever, yo, I agree with what you're saying, but I could never say this publicly. People are at the point where they are afraid to even state what they believe publicly. That's a problem. I'm going to play you a video because, like I said, this is something I've been looking into. This is I believe, a history professor. It's a 1-hour video I was watching on YouTube, and he wrote a book. And in his book, he asked himself the question, how did the Holocaust happen? How did normal people stand by while these acts occurred? What was it that made this stuff happen? He did an in-depth study. Some of the things he says, I got about 20 minutes left in the video. He said a lot of things that had my brain racing because I believe in so many ways it's so similar to what's going on now. Now, what we have going on now is not based on race, not race at all. That's not the deal, but it's based on ideology. But just because it's based on ideology and not race doesn't mean it doesn't carry some of the same inherent problems. So anyway, going back to Tim Pool and the people, the celebrities that are afraid to say anything about what they think and believe is wrong with the things that are going on publicly. These people are terrified. I want you to listen to something that this professor said about World War II Germany.
Who said, history never repeats itself, people always do. And I don't need to tell you how many people in the spring of 1933 in prominent positions of German life said, I have more to gain by going with the way these things are developing than by resisting them.
Let that sink in. People so afraid of resisting what they perceived to be wrong, but they just wanted to be accepted, so they went along just to get along. Again, I'm not being hyperbolic. I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe all of this blows over, but let's say it doesn't. Let's say none of these things blow over, and let's say the world plunges into darkness. Whenever and if the world plunges into darkness and comes out, how will history see the people who knew and saw what was coming but was afraid to say anything? Something else he said that was interesting had to do with information. And I want you to hear what he said here.
To a society that was thoroughly capable of creating an echo chamber, an ideological world in which only its ideas were presented to the public, and in which one could not challenge those ideas without fear of punishment. And you create a situation that transforms a nation in 1933 from one in which 55% of the Germans had never voted for Hitler to one in 1938 and 39 is ready to do to the Jews everything that Hitler wants it to do, is ready to cooperate in every measure of persecution, none of which arouse significant public opposition in the German populace.
Now, I want you to hear what he said about an echo chamber one more time before I get into my next point.
To a society that was thoroughly capable of creating an echo chamber, an ideological world in which only its ideas were presented to the public, and in which one could not challenge those ideas.
Could not challenge ideas. This is a problem I see going on now with the collaboration of the government and tech companies. I understand that the argument most times, especially on a libertarian side, is these are private businesses. I get that. But do you stick your head in the sand like an ostrich and not recognize that these, air quotes, private businesses are intertwined, influenced by the government and vice versa to stifle certain ideas? I want you to listen to something that Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said, keeping in mind what this gentleman said about World War II Germany.
There are also proposed changes that we have made to social media platforms, including Facebook. And those specifically are 4 key steps. One, that they measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform. Facebook should provide publicly and transparently data on the reach of COVID vaccine misinformation, not just engagement, but the reach of the misinformation and the audience that it's reaching. That will help us ensure we're getting accurate information to people. This should be provided not just to researchers, but to the public, so that the public knows and understands what is accurate and inaccurate. Second, that we have proposed that they create a robust enforcement strategy that bridges their properties and provides transparency about the rules. So I think this was a question asked before, there's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms, including Facebook, ones that Facebook owns. Third, it's important to take faster action against harmful posts. As you all know, information travels quite quickly on social media platforms. Sometimes it's not accurate, and Facebook needs to move more quickly to remove harmful, violative posts. Posts that will be within their policies for removal often remain up for days. That's too long. The information spreads too quickly. Finally, we have proposed they promote quality information sources in their feed algorithm. Facebook has repeatedly shown that they have the leverage to promote quality information. We've seen them effectively do this in their algorithm over low quality information, and they've chosen not to use it in this case, and that's certainly an area that would have an impact. So these are certainly the proposals. We engage with them regularly, and they certainly understand what our asks are.
So this is what the administration wants from social media companies. And you can believe if they're talking to Facebook, they're not just talking to Facebook. They're talking to all of these social media companies. This is what they want. They want the information control. Now, it's not just about the current virus. You can rest assured that that's not the only information they want control. With that in mind, with what that gentleman said, and these are just a few things. Trust me, there's a lot I want to go over, a lot that I'm not going to get into now because this video would be hours long if I did. But I'm hoping to do a couple videos, several videos, maybe a whole series about this very issue. How did Nazi Germany get there? How did they get to the point to exterminate, murder so many people? That's wild. If you look into that, I know it's gone over a lot. It is wild. I wanna go over this, do a series on this, and I want to do another series on how did slavery persist? How did one group of people see themselves as superior to another group of people solely based on the color of their skin? We have a wild history on this planet. We really do. Y'all know what it is. Stay frosty, people.